Charles Ponzi. The year was 1919. Charles was a smooth-talking Italian immigrant in Boston who claimed he discovered a loophole in the international postage system. He said he could buy cheap postal reply coupons from countries with weak currencies, then exchange them in stronger economies for a profit. It sounded complicated, but the result? He promised to double your money in just 90 days. People didn't understand the math, but they saw results. And when early investors got paid out, word spread like wildfire. Barbers, waiters, factory workers, even police officers, all lined up outside his office with stacks of cash. One man even mortgaged his house just to invest. But here's the catch. Ponzi wasn't making money from stamps. He was paying old investors with new investors' money, a cycle doomed to collapse. Still, he kept up the act. He wore sharp suits, drove luxury cars, and handed out cash like a generous genius. At one point, he was making $250,000 a day, the equivalent of millions today. But math always catches up. A newspaper investigation exposed the truth, and the whole empire crumbled. He was arrested, convicted, and eventually deported back to Italy. He died broke, but his name lived on. Because today, over 100 years later, people still fall for Ponzi schemes. Bernie Madoff. Bernie Madoff wasn't just any scammer. He pulled off the biggest financial fraud in history. In the world of Wall Street, he was a legend. A former NASDAQ chairman. A guy everyone trusted. Rich people handed him millions. Banks, celebrities, charities, even Holocaust survivor foundations gave him everything. And for years, he delivered. No matter the market, Madoff's investments always showed solid, steady returns. Too good to be true? Exactly. Behind the curtain, there were no real investments. No stocks. No magic formula. Just a simple Ponzi scheme. Madoff used money from new investors to pay off the old ones, then printed out fake statements to make everyone feel rich. And it worked for decades. He scammed over 37,000 people across the globe. And at the height of the scheme, it looked like he was managing $65 billion. But in 2008, during the financial crisis, people wanted their money back, and the truth unraveled. There was no money left. He confessed to his sons. They turned him in. In 2009, Madoff was sentenced to 150 years in prison. He died in 2021 behind bars. His legacy? The biggest financial scam ever. Elizebeth Holmes. Elizabeth Holmes was once hailed as a visionary in Silicon Valley, a bold, young entrepreneur who promised to revolutionize the healthcare industry. In her early 20s, she dropped out of Stanford University to found Theranos, a startup that claimed it could run hundreds of medical tests from just a single drop of blood. Charismatic and intensely driven, Holmes quickly captivated investors, media, and powerful figures in business and politics. She styled herself after tech icons like Steve Jobs, donning a signature black turtleneck and speaking in a deep, measured tone. But behind the curtain, the technology didn't work. As journalists and whistleblowers began to dig deeper, a story of deception, mismanagement, and ambition gone awry unraveled. Once a symbol of innovation, Holmes became a cautionary tale of how hype and hubris can eclipse truth, eventually leading to her conviction for fraud. Frank Abagnale Jr. Frank Abagnale Jr. is one of the most notorious con artists in history. By the age of 21, he had impersonated a commercial pilot, a doctor, and a lawyer, all while forging millions of dollars in fake checks. His story began when his parents divorced, and at just 16 years old, Frank ran away from home. Alone and desperate, he turned to fraud, using his charm and cleverness to trick banks and businesses. One of his most famous scams was posing as a Pan Am pilot. Wearing a fake uniform and forged ID, he flew around the world for free, relying on confidence more than verification. He also pretended to be a pediatrician, supervising interns in a hospital for almost a year, despite having no medical training. Later, Frank studied on his own and passed the Louisiana bar exam. He even worked as an assistant to the state attorney general, fooling many with his fake credentials. Eventually, the law caught up with him. He was arrested in France and spent time in prison. Afterward, the FBI offered him a deal, help them catch other fraudsters, and they would cut his sentence. Frank accepted and went on to spend decades advising law enforcement and banks on how to prevent scams like his own. His life story inspired the movie Catch Me If You Can. And while Frank's past is filled with lies, one truth remains. He still managed to land a better job than most of us. Anna Sorokin. Anna Sorokin, also known as Anna Delvey, is a Russian-born con artist who gained notoriety for posing as a wealthy German heiress in New York City. Between 2013 and 2017, she scammed banks, hotels, and individuals out of hundreds of thousands of dollars by pretending to be a socialite with a multi-million-dollar trust fund. In 2019, she was convicted in New York on multiple counts of theft and grand larceny. Her story gained widespread attention and was dramatized in the Netflix series Inventing Anna, 2022, created by Shonda Rhimes. After serving time in prison, Sorokin has remained in the public eye, leveraging her infamy for media opportunities while also dealing with immigration issues in the U.S. Jordan Belfort. Jordan Belfort was a stockbroker known as the real Wolf of Wall Street. In the 1980s, he started a company called Stratton Oakmont. It looked like a normal business, but behind the scenes, it was a scam. Jordan and his team used a trick called pump and dump. They told people to buy certain stocks and made the prices go up. Then they secretly sold their own shares before the stock crashed. Investors lost money, but Jordan made millions. Stratton Oakmont became huge. At its peak, the company handled over $1 billion. Jordan spent the money on cars, yachts, drugs, and big parties. But the government was watching. The FBI and other agencies investigated him. In the end, Jordan was arrested for fraud and money laundering. He went to prison for almost 2 years and was ordered to pay over $100 million back. Today, he works as a speaker and author. His story was made into the movie The Wolf of Wall Street. Victor Lustig. Victor Lustig was one of history's most notorious con artists, best known for selling the Eiffel Tower twice. Born in Austria-Hungary in 1890, he was a master of charm, language, and manipulation. Lustig traveled the world during the early 20th century, posing as a count, businessman, or diplomat, always adjusting his identity to fit his schemes. His most famous con took place in 1925, when he convinced a group of scrap metal dealers that the French government was secretly auctioning off the Eiffel Tower for demolition. He forged government documents, hosted fake meetings, and even got a bribe before vanishing. Later, he pulled numerous scams in the U.S., including counterfeiting and defrauding gangsters like Al Capone. Eventually, the law caught up with him, and he died in prison in 1947. Lustig remains a legendary figure in the world of deception, a con man so smooth. He sold the Eiffel Tower not once, but twice. Lou Pearlman. Lou Pearlman wasn't just the man behind NSYNC and the Backstreet Boys. He was also behind one of the biggest Ponzi schemes in American history. In the 1990s and early 2000s, Lou created a company called Transcontinental Airlines. He told people it was a huge business and let them invest in it. But there was one big problem. The airline didn't really exist. He used fake financial statements, fake banks, and fake insurance papers to convince investors it was real. At the same time, he was managing boy bands and using their fame to make himself look legit. He even made the band sign contracts where he took most of their money. Many of the members didn't even know how badly he was ripping them off. For over 20 years, Lou took money from banks, investors, and retirement funds. By the time he was caught in 2006, he had stolen over $300 million. He fled the country but was later arrested in Bali and brought back to the U.S. He was sentenced to 25 years in prison, but died behind bars in 2016. Any video suggestions? Comment them and subscribe for more.